territory of the Squamish Nation. Atskalwin, Pislukumuk, Squamish, I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me and I'm not cutting out or choppy. All good? Okay. I'll start now. Motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Council French, seconded by Council Herford. Any opposed? Motion carries. Ministerial Order M192. We are ensuring openness, transparency, accessibility, and accountability at this meeting by the following means. This meeting is being live streamed. A video of this meeting will be available on the district website for viewing on an on-demand basis, and the meeting is open to the public for electronic participation via WebEx. Someone move that. Moved by Council Ray, seconded by Council French. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are meeting electronically this evening, so just a reminder to council to let me know if you disconnect, reconnect to the meeting so that this can be recorded in the minutes. You can identify yourselves if you wish to speak by raising your hand if you're on video, or simply saying chair if you're connected at that time by audio only. With respect to a vote, council members are only required to state that they may vote. No statement is required if you're in favor. Please, everyone, keep your phone or computer on mute unless it is your turn to speak. We do expect council members to be involved in and participate in the meeting. And you can text our corporate officer if you're having technical difficulties, council. If the issue is on our side, and we've had a few today, we'll recess the meeting and get it fixed here and get everyone reconnected again. So with that, council, any notice of motion? Seeing none. We don't have any delegations or petitions or proclamations this evening. Any consideration of unscheduled public attendance? No. All right, so we're on to item 9, bylaws, and this is first 3 readings of the excuse me, District of Squamish Park dedication for Smoke Bluffs Park, bylaw number 2800/2021. Ms. Gill, nice to see you.
You too. All right, just one sec. I'm gonna get set up here. Good evening, Council. So for those of you watching, my name is Nav Gill. I'm from Real Estate Services, and I'm joined by the Real Estate Manager, Neil Plum. So we are here to obtain first 3 readings for the following 2 bylaws. The Smoke Bluffs Park Dedication Bylaw, as well as a bylaw to repeal the Smoke Bluffs Park Committee Establishment Bylaw. Just to provide an overview of the lands that we're looking at. So the Park Dedication Bylaw will be dedicating the lands shaded in white, but we also wanted to show the surrounding lands. So there's some district road, unused road dedications in blue, and then the crown land is highlighted in that orangey red color. And then the FMC, which is the Federation of Mountain Club lands, those are highlighted in yellow. So currently the zoning of the large Smoke Bluffs parcel is P3, but we also have some, or the FMC lands are zoned RE, so that's resource. And then the Dranka lands that were acquired by the district last year are still zoned I1. So this initiative is part of a larger plan the district is pursuing in order to protect climbing and recreation interests to its fullest legal extent. So as mentioned today, we're doing the park dedication of the district-owned lands, and then planning is taking up an initiative to rezone all the park lands so that we have a consistent zoning in the area. The district is also speaking to FMC and the Crown to acquire their lands to be consolidated with the park, and as well the roads in blue that were shown, we would close those. And then if we acquired the FMC and Crown lands, everything would be consolidated into one large parcel and dedicated as park. So once these lands are designated by, park through this bylaw, they can only be repealed by approval of the electorate, and that would be through either a referendum or the alternative approval process. At this time, we're also looking to repeal the Smoke Bluffs Park Committee Establishment Bylaw. So with this park dedication, the Smoke Bluffs Park Committee can be replaced with the Staff Advisory Committee. And the reasoning behind this is that this committee has fulfilled its original strategic mandate, as well as the Select Committee requires significant council and staff oversight that's not warranted anymore. And so this new Staff Advisory Committee would be more efficient at supporting upcoming operating tasks for the park. And with that, I will turn it over to Mayor and Council for a discussion on the resolutions.
Thank you, Ms. Gill. So, Council, any questions on bylaw?
Thank you. Through the chair, I just received a question from one of the committee members, wondering if the park dedication bylaw increases our leverage at all with BC Hydro and their right of way in terms of the notice they need to give us with regards to vegetation management. So does the bylaw impact our relationship at all with Hydro, or are we just kind of still at the whim of what it is that they do?
Through the mayor, I'm not sure how it works right now. I don't know if Gary or Robin know how BC Hydro notifies us now. As Neil and I haven't been involved in the operational aspects of the maintenance and whatnot. So I don't know if Robin can answer that.
Mr. Buxton had his hand up too, so either of you. Mr. Buxton?
Sure. Through the chair, it really won't affect our relationship or our influence with BC Hydro. That'll remain unchanged.
Thank you. Any other questions? I might just ask a question of staff about the transition from the statutory committee to staff advisory committee and the sort of benefits that might be achieved of that. Ms. Wright?
Thank you, Mayor Elliott. So the committee that was established as local park advisory committee was established by Bylaw, and it went through a process where they were given a mandate that was very policy driven, and it also included getting us to the point that we're at today with the bringing forward the dedication of the park. And now that the work that's in place is more operational in nature and it follows what's laid out in the development plan and management plan, we're to maintain the committee relationship through staff advisory. We don't have to go through legislative constraints that are involved with subcommittee council, where we need to post the meetings, have a minute taker, we broadcast the meetings. And that's not to say that the outcomes of what the committee work will be doing with staff will be transparent. It just means that we don't go through the same constrained process. I'm not sure if Gary has anything further to add to that, as he's going to have oversight of the
Yes, through the chair, effectively, other than the administrative overhead that's no longer required, and there's no council member on the staff advisory committee, it performs all the same functions, but it'll be able to operate in a much more flexible manner. All the same things will be happening in making decisions in just the same way.
So operations will still be guided by the advice of the committee.
Absolutely, yes.
Councillor Pettingill?
Yeah, thank you. Just to make sure I understand the zoning proposal. So assuming this proceeds to adoption, eventually, all of the lands at this point, except for the FMC lands, would be zoned park. Some of it already is, but some of it isn't, but it'll all be zoned park. And essentially what that does is it makes it much more difficult for a council to zone it something different. Like we have more flexibility in rezoning things, but this, it'll have to stay with park unless it goes to the public for a referendum or a special process. And so it's really protecting everything except for the FMC lands at this point. Is that correct?
There. So just to clarify, so the zoning and this park dedication are two separate processes. So planning will be coming forward with the rezoning, but at this point, the lands that are being dedicated as park are the two district parcels. And so yes, that would require a referendum or alternative approval process to remove the park dedication. And then a rezoning process would be a standard rezoning application through the planning department.
There. Any other follow-up? Okay. Not seeing any. So the proposed motion in front of us is that we give the Squamish Park dedication bylaw number 2800 2021 first reading. That's moved by Councillor Stone and seconded by Councillor French. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Stone?
Yeah, happy to. I am very excited to see this come forward. I think it's, I still hear from people that they're surprised that the Smoke Bluffs is not a dedicated park. So I think there is perception in our community that it is a dedicated park, but it hasn't actually been by bylaw. So I think this has been a long time coming. It's great that we have the addition of what were previously the Drinker lands that we were able to acquire last year. And this just moves all of that land into a legal park dedication that really will make it difficult for future councils to change and require the electorate to approve any future changes for use other than park. I'm also supportive of, recognize that this is a separate motion that will come to following, but the transition from a statutory committee of council to a staff advisory committee that was presented to the Smoke Bluffs Park Committee at our last meeting at the end of January. And we had a really robust discussion about that, and no substantive concerns were raised by the committee at that point. So I feel comfortable with the proposal as it's going forward. The draft terms of reference for that advisory committee also include, I think, some really important components around transparency and reporting of what that committee will be doing on an annual basis. So I think we have a robust system moving forward that will both protect the lands and ensure that there's fair community input on ongoing operational components. So happy to support the motion.
Thank you. Councillor French?
Thanks, Chair. This is an exciting long-term project, and we're at a key point in the formalization of the Smoke Bluffs Park. Just to reiterate that some folks are apparently worried that the District of Squamish control over this large area that we currently mostly informally know as the Smoke Bluffs could lead to long-term uncertainty for the parklands. And I don't see this situation that way, and I don't understand it that way. It's exactly the opposite, in my opinion. Once the District of Squamish formally puts all of these lands into park status, it's going to be very difficult to take it out, and I think that's the way that it should be. And while all of this is great for climbers, I also see it as fabulous for dog owners who walk through this area, along with mountain bike riders, hikers, and residents who live right on the border of this park. So I'll be supporting this.
Thank you. Councillor Pettingill?
Yeah, thank you. I'll be supporting this as well for the reasons outlined by my colleagues. I do see this as an important way to give some certainty. I did want to highlight that reading through some of the historical context for this, for me, it was a noticeable absence in terms of Squamish Nation in the history of this area and these lands. And so I know we are working hard on reconciliation, and it just highlighted for me the importance of continuing to do that work and recognizing the value of these lands to the nation as well. But I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Any other comments? Councillor Harper?
Thank you. I'm happy to support the motion. I think this is a crucial step forward into finally realizing what I think some people alluded to already, something that many think already exists, but protecting these lands for their recreational values and their and they are plentiful. So I'm looking forward to this and the subsequent steps. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments? I'll just add a few myself. I think the importance of this area, my colleagues have underscored, and formalizing that is really important. And hopefully that gives confidence to FMC that our intentions are about preserving these lands in perpetuity as park. And what I like about the bylaw and the preamble is setting this land aside primarily as a climbing area for our community. And of course, there are other uses in it, but it really is a gem to have a municipal park within district boundaries that accommodates so many who enjoy rock climbing. So I think that's really special. And I also, before we get to the next bylaw, I just want to take a moment to really thank the Smoke Bluffs Park Committee members and all the members over the years that have helped bring this park to where it is now. I think that kind of community input is so critical because the people who love the park as much as these folks have over the year have really helped get it to where it is today and made improvements each and every year working with our staff. So I think the ability to have that ongoing community input is so vital to Smoke Bluffs Park, and be able to do that nimbly with our staff on an annual basis is really important. So I just want to thank the committee, all the members that have contributed over the years to get us to where we are today. It's a really important milestone in my eyes. Seeing no other hands, I will call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So next up is the Smoke Bluffs Park Committee Establishment. District of Squamish Smoke Bluffs Park Committee Establishment Bylaw. It's the repeal bylaw number 2805/2021. Let it begin in first reading. Moved by Councillor Stoner, second by Burford. Any comments on this? Councillor Stoner.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate some of your previous comments, Mayor Elliott, about appreciation to the committee members. This is a group of extremely passionate and dedicated individuals. The committee has been established since 2007. And so it has had a lot of dedicated citizens and community members participate in the creation of what the park is today. And so just a sincere appreciation for all the time and energy that's gone into it and will continue to go into it. I have a feeling that many of those same folks will continue to be involved as part of the staff advisory committee. But just wanted to say a word of thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, I will call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next site up 9A3 is the District of Squamish Downtown Business Improvement Area Bylaw number 2799/2021. Ms. Arthur?
It is.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor Elliott. I'm Robin Arthurs, General Manager of Corporate Services, and I'm presenting this tonight on behalf of Ms. Pollock, who is unable to attend the meeting today. I will just share the screen. So tonight we're here to request first 3 readings for the renewal of the Downtown Squamish Business Area Improvement Area bylaw. The previous one's about to expire in March. And the BIA has requested that this be a council-led process through counter petition. And I know that Ms. Pollock previously went over what that all means in the previous presentation with the BIA. So this process involves a counter petition, we just said, whereby owners of the properties vote against joining in the BIA. The properties that are involved are Class 6 in the taxation assessment scheme that's developed by the province, so it's only the commercial class. And owners who are in favor of the BIA don't need to do anything, because this is a counter petition and it's only for people who do not want to be part of the BIA to renew the bylaw. If owners have questions, the association is available and will address the questions related to the programs and expenses that they have. And Ms. Pollock or I will be available to address questions related to the voting process, specifically statutory process. This is a statutory local service area through the local government. Although this is being conducted as a local service area on council initiative, it's being conducted at the request of the association. So if the renewal is successful, the district will go ahead and collect the taxes on those properties and then pass the collected levy onto the downtown BIA. So the bylaw doesn't contain any parameters, such as a requirement for the association to submit annually to the financial officer a budget or anything like that, but it does need to be approved by a majority of the members of their programming internally at their annual general meeting. So next steps, there is a process. If the association decides that they would like to expand the area subsequent to adopting this bylaw, we can go ahead and do an amended bylaw, or they can choose to do a second bylaw. This bylaw is for 5-year terms. They do have the opportunity to go to 10 years. And so again, we can extend that to an amendment after the 5-year term. So staff are requesting that council the first 3 readings tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Sarkis. Any questions from council this evening? Not seeing any. We did get a presentation at our committee on this, so that means there's a resolution in front of you for first 3 readings. That's moved by Councillor Stoner, seconded by Councillor Pettengill. Any comments on this? Seeing none. Go ahead, Councillor Pettengill.
Well, I was just going to say, when I looked at the proposed boundary, it's a little bit non-intuitive to me, given where businesses are and are coming shortly, but recognizing that this is the businesses themselves asking for us to levy this and setting the boundary that makes sense for them. That makes it supportable for me. And I do think over time, though, I would expect to see this boundary grow and more businesses want to become part of this.
Councillor Herford?
Thank you. I share the same sentiment. I think with some of the new developments coming online, the lines on the map currently are going to start to make less and less sense, but it does make sense as though currently as those units are yet to be occupied. But I encourage the BIA to monitor this and expand the net as needed in future.
Councillor French?
Thank you. The BIA has done an excellent job of supporting and promoting our downtown, and I'm looking forward to that organization continuing successfully with those efforts. And I also agree that boundary discussions do need to take place. I kind of hope that that discussion could happen in time for this renewal. However, it has not. So we'll press ahead with the boundaries as they exist. And I'm looking to the future at expanding out a little bit. Thanks.
Thank you. I will call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're on to 9B1, District of Squamish zoning bylaw, amendment bylaw for 37773 Cleveland Avenue, bylaw number 2744/2020 being adopted. That was moved by Councillor Stoner, seconded by Councillor French. Any comments? I'll call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. On to item 92, District of Squamish Invasive Species Management Bylaw number 2786, 2020 be adopted. I'll move that. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Race. Any comments on this? Call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, District of Squamish Pesticide and Herbicide Use Bylaw number 2787, 2020 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Stoner, seconded by Councillor Hertford. And a shout out to the bees on this one. Any other comments? Call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. And related to those two bylaws is an update of the municipal ticket information bylaw. Number 2801, 2021 for the invasive species management and pesticide herbicide use. Adopted. Moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Hertford. Any comments? I'll call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. And finally, the notice enforcement bylaw, number 2802, 2021, related to these. Moved by Councillor French, seconded by Councillor Pettingill. Comments? Call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. On to staff reports. First up from corporate services is the cancellation of the March regular business meetings. That they be canceled and special business meetings be scheduled in their place for the month of March. Moved by Councillor French, seconded by Councillor Mitford. I will know we're getting back to some sort of normalcy when this doesn't happen anymore on our agenda. Nice to see a regular business meeting. I'll call the question. Any opposed? Carries. 10B, emergency services, the ESS and EOC grant applications. Ms. Latimer, I think, is here. There she is. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll just do a quick sound check that you can hear me okay.
And thank you.
Excellent. And I'll just, I've got the presenter ball now. I'll just share my screen. Stand by 1 second. And I'll just check that you can see my PowerPoint clearly as well.
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Okay. Well, good evening. For the record, my name is Megan Latimer with the District of Squamish Emergency Program. We are here tonight to recommend that Council approve the following resolution, that the District of Squamish submit 2 applications, each in the amount of $25,000 to the Union of British Columbia Municipalities for the Emergency Support Services and Emergency Operations Center grants, which fall under the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund. So these 2 grant streams come up every year, more or less. And in the past, we've done a number of different projects to further emergency preparedness. So we've done mass care training that's focused on what we would do in an event where we had a large number of evacuees. That was done in partnership with the Squamish Nation. We've also done training and exercises around Emergency Operations Center preparedness as well. This year, we're looking to do something a little bit different with each of these grants. We're looking to put these funds towards establishing 2 disaster supply caches. And what I might mean by that is these would be insulated shipping containers, which would be used to store disaster support supplies and emergency response supplies. And these supplies, I just want to clarify, these wouldn't be for the general public. These would be for first responders to be able to support impacted populations, as well as facilitate emergency area communications so that response efforts could be conducted safely and we could transition to recovery quickly. On the public preparedness side, we do have the separate neighborhood hubs project, which we're looking at starting later this year. So that's where those efforts will fall. This concept came about, there's sort of a proof of concept that was put in place on the North Shore of 3 municipalities of the North Shore, where they've rolled out this disaster supply cache concept. And it's worked very well so far. They've tested it through a series of different exercises and regularly do training around looking at what's in the contents of each of these containers and making sure that everything is operationally ready. So we've sort of stolen their concept, and we're actually working hand in hand with Squamish Nation on this. So in past years, we've applied for these grants together with Squamish Nation. So just one sort of $25,000 grant that we shared between us that was administered by the District of Squamish. This year, the Squamish Nation is putting in their own grants. However, we have worked together so that our grant applications are more or less identical and support each other for the same initiative, which is very exciting. Just to give you an idea of where we'd be looking to locate these different disaster supply caches. The initial ones we'd be looking to put near emergency support services reception centers. So here in Squamish, that would be Brennan Park and Totem Hall are our 2 designated reception centers. And then looking further down the line, we'd investigate other potential locations, again, in partnership with Squamish Nation. So some of the potential locations that we have listed are both of the fire halls, as well as the new public works yard site once the plans are done there, and also potentially downtown at Municipal Hall, so that those supplies are ready and available for emergency responders should there be a major emergency. To give you an idea of what's inside of these disaster supply caches, there would be communications equipment, so base and portable radios, pre-programmed with all of the channels for different responding organizations, as well as emergency support services equipment, so cots, hygiene kits, things like that, if we had to support a high number of evacuees or open a group lodging center. We would also equip these with rapid damage assessment kits so that teams could conduct rapid damage assessments in the post-earthquake scenario. Evacuation notification kits. These are currently stored at the EOC, but this would allow us to store them in different locations around the community so that first responders could access them in different areas if they had to mount an evacuation and go door to door to do notification. We'd also include things like sanitation supplies, PPE, and potentially power sources, so generators or batteries stored there as well as some light tools. Excuse me. Something stuck in my throat. So with that, I'll leave off there, and if there's any questions, I am happy to take those.
Thanks, Ms. Latimer. Council, any questions? I have one. So some of those locations are in the floodplain, and so do we put these on a hill, or how do we manage that risk?
Yeah, it's a good question. We have to do a full assessment of the actual pinpointed location for each of these, because obviously we don't want to be in a position where our supplies are underwater. So we would be looking at, placing them on higher parcels of land, building up the foundations higher as needed to make sure that they were in line with the flood DPA.
Thanks. Any other questions? I don't see any. Council? You move that, Councilor Race, seconded by Councilor Kirkland. Any comments? I think they're a great idea, so I'm hoping that we're successful, and I'm glad that we've coordinated again with Squamish Nation and can achieve better coverage of the community if we're working together. Councilor Stormer.
I was just going to say the same thing. I think this is a fantastic initiative. Happy to see that our application has been coordinated with that of the Squamish Nation. I think this makes, if we're successful and we can actually get these in place, it means our community will be better suited to respond to the many, many hazards that are likely going to come up to us in the future. So thanks for bringing this forward.
That sounded ominous, Councillor Stoner, but thank you. Any other comments? I will call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Latimer. And Chief Stoner for being here.
Thanks very much.
We are on to the consent agenda. So any item in this part of the agenda where a member is in conflict, or if you want something pulled to talk about it, now's your time to do it. Councillor French.
Yeah, I'd like to pull letter number 4 from D. Anderson, please.
Councillor Anderson.
I was going to request the same letter. I will wish to speak to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pettengill. Can't hear you.
Sorry, I'd like to pull letter 3 and then also 6 and 8 together.
3. Okay. Anything else? All right. Can I have someone move the remainder of the consent agenda? Moved by Councillor Stoner, second by Councillor Pettengill. Any opposed? Motion carries. So we'll deal with the correspondence in item 13, but first let's deal with the items that are there. So action requested, a correspondence received regarding playgrounds. This is primarily from folks in the Ravenswood area, that the correspondence related to playgrounds be referred to staff for response and be referred to the 2022 budget discussion. Moved by Councillor Stoner, seconded by Councillor Pettengill. Any comments? I'll call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. And that correspondence received regarding emergency childcare roundtable. This is for council consideration. So we've received a number of letters from the community in response to Platypus daycare closing, requesting an emergency childcare roundtable. This was CC'd to the province as well. Dr. Stoner?
Yeah, I was going to refer this to staff for a response and so that they can speak to the amount of work that is going on. I know that there is already an existing roundtable and we can point those folks to the existing work and ensure that the ministers who were CC'd on it are aware of the ongoing work within our community and that we need greater advocacy at the provincial level in order to see some of these things through.
All right. So that's being referred to staff. Are you seconding that, Councillor French? Any further comments on this? I'll add my comments. I know that the closure of Platypus is causing a lot of stress for those families, and it's our great hope that another provider can negotiate a reasonable lease agreement in that purpose-built space so that families don't receive any interruption. I'm already working with staff on a letter of response, so I'm pleased to see this being referred in that direction because I think it does deserve a response. And important for the province to understand just how much work we've done on this file and just how much financial and other support we need from the provincial and federal governments to make the creation of 72 childcare spaces created a year for the next 10 years to hit our goal. Even come close to that reality will require so much more commitment on your part. And so yes, I totally support referring this to staff and making sure these folks get a response, as well as the provincial ministers that they've CC'd in their letters. And I can only encourage the community to advocate as much as possible to the province, to the federal government, who is now promised a universal child care plan. But that advocacy to those ministers at that level that have the financial means to see this through and the child care plan through is so important. And we'll continue to be a voice in that aspect. And I'm happy to invite the minister or representative to our next roundtable discussion so that they can hear some of the challenges that we're having in Squamish and why it's been difficult to act more quickly on the creation of spaces here, despite all of our best. Any other comments? Call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilor French, you pulled letter 4 from D. Anderson about the video on transportation. Do you want to speak to that now?
Yeah, please. So the letter includes a link to a YouTube video outlining what it takes to create accessible year-round bicycle infrastructure. It's a great video. I was really impressed with it. And I think it would be beneficial for planning and engineering team members within the District of Squamish to see the video if they haven't already, and further support the great work that is already being done around cycling infrastructure in Squamish, and maybe spark new and innovative ideas that haven't yet been incorporated here. So I was thinking that a motion to refer this letter to General Manager Gary Buxton might be appropriate.
Or more generally, just refer to staff.
Perfect.
And that's seconded by Councillor Anderson. Councillor Anderson, you want to speak to that?
Thank you. As Councillor French has referenced, Ms. Anderson refers to information and references of general interest, which we should encourage people to have a look at. However, I would also like to highlight a section of her letter where she refers to portions of the corridor trail which are regularly flooded. And this includes not only the pinch point across from the Shell station, more or less, that she refers to, but also the highway bridge across the Mamco Blind Channel. These puddles, this is a drainage problem, they do freeze in winter. And in fact, it's so bad on the bridge that some pedestrians find themselves looking to the other side of the highway bridge and making their way in less safe circumstances. Now, this is a corridor trail that serves well over 1,200 households at least, and it's an essential route to schools as well as downtown. So my suggestion is that Public Works may give this aspect of Ms. Anderson's suggestion some attention. They may already have, but we have some clever people in our Public Works staff that may be able to find an engineering or drilling solution to these drainage problems on this section of the corridor trail. Thank you.
Thank you. Were you also seconding that? Yes. Thank you. I'll call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councillor Pettengill, you want to speak to letter 3 from our MP?
Yes, thank you. And I just want to highlight one section. He talks about a new program, I believe a federal government program, Unsung Champions, recognizing people that are doing really good work in our communities. And one person recognized in the Sea to Sky corridor is Ruth Simons. Although Ruth is in Lions Bay, she's heavily involved in the future of Howe Sound, the Howe Sound Community Forum, and has been a leading force in the UN Biosphere Initiative, and very involved in Ocean Watch and bringing all of our communities together so we can work collaboratively for the whole region. And so I just wanted to point that out and recognize her. Also, Tracy Saxby, so our own Squamish resident, was recognized, has worked a lot with Ruth as well. Very dedicated to the sound in the place we live, is working on another provincial climate-related initiative. I'm not sure if it's ready to be announced, but just wanted to add our own recognition to those people in our corridor.
And move receipt of the letter.
Yes, and move receipt.
Thank you. And that's seconded by Councillor Stoner. Any further comments? Call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. You wanted to speak to letters 6 and 8.
Yeah, and so I saw these, and we have already endorsed both of these initiatives ourselves, and I've seen these come across our agenda, and I think they may continue to. So I was just wondering if there's a way we can sort of identify these on our agenda as already supported. I'm just sort of worried if we just let them go by, people think we haven't done anything, but we've already sort of addressed them. So it's more of a process or efficiency question.
Ms. Arthur, do you have a solution to that question?
Thank you, Mayor Elliott. And yes, in fact, if this had not been supported, that they were requesting District of Squamish support, it'd be under action requested. But because we've already supported these through council meetings and council motion, they just appear under RNF.
Okay.
So when we do the agenda, correspondence for action like these kinds of motions that council would entertain would be under for action. Once they move into this section, people can assume with them in another meeting.
Yeah, I'm just sort of wondering if we could put them under a heading of previously endorsed or something, just so that people reading through this agenda doesn't think we don't care about it. I don't want to pull them every time and think we've already supported it, but like, is there just sort of a heading we can quickly put them under and make it very clear without devoting a bunch of time to them every meeting when we've already dealt with them?
Yes, I think we can do that.
Okay, thank you. I'll move receipt.
Second that, I'll call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. That was for 6. Okay, we have 14, approval of minutes, a recommendation from Committee of the Whole from February 9th to appoint myself and Anthony Jeffrey, our procurement manager, to the Coastal Community Social Procurement Initiative as representatives for the District of Squamish, and that Councillor French be appointed as an alternate to the mayor. Moved by Councillor Squamish, by Councillor Anderson. Any comments? Call the question. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, we have Smoke Bluffs Park Committee meeting minutes from January 28th, 2021 to receive. Moved by Councillor Stoner, second by Councillor French. Any opposed? Motion carries. We don't have any in-camera announcements today. We did not have any unscheduled public attendance. I don't imagine there's anyone on the question period. No, strangely, no one. Any council or staff announcements? Councillor Race, and then Councillor French, and then Councillor Payne.
Thank you. And this will be the first of perhaps many updates on the library board and activities of the library board. And they've suggested that I address council after their monthly meetings with just some of the highlights of what's been happening at their meetings. And so from the last meeting, we've established the 2021 Executive Committee. There is a new chair, Molly Loudon. Previous chair, David Gayton, was not impeached. It was quite friendly, actually, but he was stepping back to vice chair, and the treasurer will continue to be Grant McCradoo. We also welcome new trustee Janet Jameson and myself as the new representative. Welcome back current trustees Corinne Disher, Megan O'Neill, Kate Rattray, and Mallory Leonida. The governance committee of the board reviewed the results of the board's 2020 self-evaluation, which included recommendations to expand the orientation process for new trustees and to leverage the training opportunities offered by the BC Library Trustees Association. And very positive reviews for outgoing chair David Gayton and his ability to lead the board. There's some other highlights. The 2020 circulation statistics show an 89% increase in the number of holds placed on items, mostly due to the library's popular takeout service, as well as patrons' increased familiarity with accessing their accounts online to place their own holds. The library saw a 48% increase in circulation of ebook and e-audiobooks in 2020. Upcoming virtual programs include the launch of live story times, children's and teen book clubs, community book club meetings, and art classes. End of report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor French.
Thanks, Chair. I simply wanted to take a moment to point out that the most recent District of Squamish B-Sides podcast was released a couple of days ago. I listened to it and was completely impressed by the the podcast. So I encourage those who are interested in housing, affordable housing, and planning challenges, initiatives, to give it a listen. It's excellent podcast. Thank you.
So French, that's part of our three-part series on housing density and the relationship between density and livability. So thanks for pointing that out. Councillor Pettengill and then Councillor Stoner.
Yeah, thank you. A few things, and was thinking back about what I've been doing outside of these meetings. On January 25th, it was a little while ago now, I attended a seminar on law enforcement assisted diversion, and some presenters from the US, but some people from BC talking about their experiences as well. And the idea is that community support organizations are available right at the point of a police interaction, and police can divert sort of on the spot lower offenses right into community organizations as a means of keeping people out of the justice system. And the conversation was that it's more difficult to do with the federal police force like the RCMP, just with differences in jurisdiction. But it's something that stuck out into my mind when we're dealing with the opioid crisis and things like that. If something like that might be useful to consider as part of our public safety master plan. So just thought I'd raise that briefly. February 3rd and 4th, I attended the Local Government Learning Academy, leading during a pandemic, which was quite good. I heard a strong focus on building back better in the side discussions I had. One thing that really jumped out at me was the number of people who actually really appreciated Zoom meetings, and especially in smaller and more remote communities, there's quite a list of things that people really, really appreciated about Zoom. And I know for a lot of us, it presents a lot of challenges, but it's interesting to hear that other perspective. And then the other thing, I want to give kudos to Mayor Elliott and Ms. Glende, our CEO, or CAO, I should say, who did a presentation on constructive council board relations. And I think I've mentioned it before, but when we have these discussions at these sorts of forums, I'm always amazed at the struggles that other councils have. And I'm very fortunate, still feeling very fortunate to be part of this council. I think sometimes on social media, people seem to think we're all of one mind, and I can assure you that's not always true, and you can maybe tell by my voting record. But I think from day one, Mayor Elliott has done a great job of setting us up for success. And I'd also like to thank all my colleagues, because even when we do disagree, I think this group does a really good job of handling that in a constructive way. So it was a great presentation, and I think the experience here in Squamish matches up to what I heard in the presentation. So thank you to the mayor and our CAO for that.
That was a nerve-wracking presentation because I knew you guys would be listening to it and you'd be in the breakout groups. So if I didn't tell the truth, you would have called me out. Appreciate that. Councillor Stoner.
Yeah, just quickly to echo Councillor Pettengill, it was a fantastic presentation that the mayor and our CAO put on. There was a resounding support for it from the folks that I was in a breakout room with, just in terms of sharing some of the lessons learned. Good governance doesn't just happen. You really have to work for it. And I think that we have a strong model that people were really appreciated hearing more about in that forum. So thanks to the mayor and CAO for taking the time to do that. I did want to just highlight that although we just had a very cold week and lots of snow, spring is not too far away, which means we need to start planting our gardens. And typically Squamish can and the Food Policy Council host an in-person CD Sunday event with seed exchanges. But given that in-person events are not happening, there's a virtual CD Saturday conference happening this Saturday with Farm Folk, City Folk, and it's a provincial event this year, all online, with Master Gardener Q&A, some breakout discussions for specific communities. There'll be one specific for Squamish. So if you do have any gardening questions this weekend, online will be the way to get your answers for all your questions. Thanks.
Thank you. I just want to thank our MP for organizing a town hall with Minister McKenna last week on Wednesday. And I know they're working on their budget, but it was great to actually have some time with her. And Patrick invited the mayors of the corridor and some other leaders to talk with her about some of our infrastructure priorities, especially as they relate to climate change. So that was fantastic. And then he also organized a pre-budget consultation for folks in Sea to Sky, and also appreciated participating in that and hearing about budget priorities from across the corridor. And since everyone thinks that this is an election budget, it was interesting to just hear what people's priorities were. And then I wanted to thank the Community Foundation and the Squamish Arts Council for kicking off the community grants process with a town hall on Wednesday evening. Councilor Herford and I attended. They did a great job going over sort of an orientation for how the program will work this year, and did a fantastic job. And really just made themselves available to answer questions. Our staff were there as well to answer questions. So thank you to Sarah Dicker for also supporting that open house as well. And so look forward to those organizations successfully administering this first year of the community grants process. I think that's all I have. All right. We've done our closed meeting, and so it's just a motion to terminate. Moved by Councilor Woodford, second by Councilor Stoner. Any opposed? Motion carries. It is before 7 p.m. Thanks for your work today. Thanks to the staff who supported us as well.